Hello, my name is Shayla Treadwell and I'm the Director of Cybersecurity at ECS. Right now, one of our largest projects that we're working on is Cmmc and helping to ensure that organizations are prepared for it. So the question that we have today is, how do I prepare for Cmmc? Now this question we do get often. Preparedness really depends on the relationship that you plan on having with the DoD and the type of work that your organization does, but we're going to really dig into how you can make sure that you're as prepared as possible to ensure that you can get through your assessment properly. The Cmmc encompasses the security requirements for CUI, also known as Controlled Unclassified Information. We learn a lot about CUI when we start to look at a couple different frameworks and clauses that the government has put out. Some of them include NIST Special Publication 800-171. You can also see it a lot in DFARS Clause 252, 202, 7012, as well as the Basic Safeguarding of Information in the Federal Contract Information FCI Specified Clause 52-204-22. Now that could be really a mouthful. And I know for a lot of you organizations that already do work with the DoD, some of this stuff is not unfamiliar at all. However, if you're a newer organization, I would highly recommend you kind of look into those things to understand what the government has already put out when it comes down to controlled unclassified information and how to safeguard it. Now, as we look at what controlled unclassified information is, it is information that requires safeguarding or dissemination controls. And for FCI, or Federal Contract Information, it is information provided by or generated for the government under a contract that is not intended for public release. So we're really looking at the information that needs to remain classified or sensitive for your organization to make sure that we're protecting it the way that we need to. As we start to look at the Cmmc, it's important to know that none of the practices that are mentioned in the Cmmc are really new at all. These practices really come by looking at some of those best practices that have been out there before and just putting them all in one centralized place and recognizing that it's something important to do. For Cmmc, there is specifically 17 capability domains. Now, these 17 capability domains will not be necessary for every single level, and that's because depending on which level you're shooting for will determine how many practices or capabilities your organization needs to really take a deep look at. If you're looking for a level 1 organization, which is going to be most of the Cmmc accreditation body, what they're looking at to make sure people are certified for DoD contracts. Level 1 organizations have 17 practices that they need to implement. Think about that. Only 17 practices that you have to implement, which won't be too big of a lift for organizations, especially if they get the right help and support they need to ensure that those practices are implemented. As we start to move up the ladder and get to level 2 has been coined as a transition level. It's a transition level because it has 72 practices. Now, if you start to think about the fact that level 1 has 17 practices and level 2 has 72 practices, you can see why it's kind of a transition area because there's such a large ramp up to get to level 2. It has been stated by the DoD that for level 2, you won't find very many contracts out there at all that are going to require organizations to be level 2 because they do recognize that level 2 is that transition level to help organizations prepare themselves for level 3. Now, a level 3 organization is really managed and practicing good cyber hygiene. These are going to be a lot of contracts as well for the DoD. For a level 3 organization, you are looking to implement 130 practices. Now, they may seem like a lot of practices and a lot of work to do. However, when you break that down, level 3 is really all of NIST 800-171, plus an additional 20 practices that Cmmc has included. Therefore, if you're doing business with the government and you need to be NIST 171 compliant already, you probably are in good shape to make sure that you're level 3. To do a nice run through that won't take a large lift. Now, when you start to look at level 4 and level 5, these are our very advanced levels. You're starting to look at repeatable processes as well as process improvement. When you look at level 4 specifically, you're really trying to implement 156 practices. Now, these practices are beyond NIST 800-171, and there's some new things in there. You can see a lot of resemblance from CERT RMM to ensure that you have things instantiated. And you also see a lot of things to ensure that we're protecting against advanced persistent threats. It's more proactive, and your organization really knows what they're doing at that point in time to safeguard some of the more advanced cybersecurity things. Lastly, we have level 5. And according to the DoD, you will find very few contracts that are requiring organizations to be a level 5. At this point in time, it's really called optimizing. At this point, you're looking at 171 practices holistically, and you're looking to be able to quantify a lot of the information that you're doing and collecting to ensure that you have the right things in place. So overall, it's really important to note that aspiring to be a level 5 is not a bad thing, but you're not going to find very many contracts at that level. You're going to have to look at level 1 and level 3 to ensure that you're as prepared as possible to go through the accreditation process. Now, I know that was a lot of information. However, if you need any type of help understanding what you need to look at and ways to become prepared, our team here at ECS is happy to help. We're happy to put you through a preparedness assessment and start to examine where some of your potential gaps can be and formulating solutions on to close them. I would also say that one of the most important things that you can do as you're looking to prepare yourselves to go through Cmmc is to ensure that you have all of the proper documentation that's needed in place. That means looking at your policies and standards, looking at your strategy for your cybersecurity organization, and being able to present your SSP to be able to give to that assessor so that you can get the ball rolling and really document and understand what you need for your organization. If you need any help at all, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help you and get you ready and prepared for the Cmmc.